Hi everyone, welcome to the first ever YouTube, video recap that we're going to try to do. For those of you who are finding me for the first time, hi, welcome. For those of you who are have decided to go on this new adventure with me from my blog, thank you so much for coming, and definitely leave me comments below just to give me feedback on whether you think this is a nice addition to our little community, or whether you think this is it. Please don't show anymore. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the first episode, and hopefully my dog's on my lap, so he refuses to get off. I've tried shoving him off my lap, and so let's hope that he stays calm and quiet while I recap that. Anyway, episode 1 lived up to my expectations, I will have to tell you. It's so awesome, but I won't hype it too much for you in case you're disappointed. But the episode starts off with the Kumyo it starts off with a panoramic scene of a Korean mountainside or several mountains, and then we narrow it down to the Kumyo, who is actually exploring the one of the Korean woods, and he comes across this wooden carriage that holds 3 prisoners, or slaves, if you will. And this carriage has been, stops in front of a brothel or a house for training of prostitutes, or back in the old days they're called kisang. I think they're called kisangs, and just courtesans, women taught to service men, pretty much. So anyway, as he watches, he realizes that it is a noblewoman and a nobleman, or at least the son and daughter of a nobleman, who has been unjustly accused of some crimes and then subsequently executed by whom he thought was a good friend. Anyway, this daughter refuses to step over the doorstep of this brothel because she knows exactly what's in store for her for the rest of her life. As a gently bred woman, she refuses to become, in essence, a prostitute. So anyway, she refuses to go, and then the head woman comes out, and as a way to kind of put her in her place and to teach her exactly the harsh realities of what she's going to have to face for the rest of her life, she has her men strip her down to literally her undergarments in the middle of the night. And of course, the maid is just freaked out. But, she holds it in, and then they strap her to this tree, and literally for about 4 days, she is left there at the mercy and ridicule of the townspeople, who throw rocks at her at times and, curse her, mock her, and all those things. And during this whole time, she maintains her, iron will to refuse to step over the doors. The threshold is what I'm looking for. All during this time, the Kumyo watches from his little tree perch. I told you he was gonna. The Kumyo watches from the tree perch, and he's just really impressed by her resolve. And you see him in one scene plucking a little leaf off of a flower or sprig, saying, "I'll help her. I'll help her not. I'll help her. I'll help her not." But anyway, so he finally decides, when he realizes that she has lost consciousness, to go down and help her. And then his little friend, he has a friend who finally finds him, because the episode really started with the friend coming to visit his, Kumyo friend. Anyway, he stops him in time, and he reminds him, "Hey, you promised me you would not get involved in the affairs of human beings." And there's a little tussle, and the guy, tries to stop him. And then the Kumyo, as the friend is leaving, takes the staff that the friend had dropped and throws it very close to the friend. And you think, oh my gosh, the Kumyo is taking his anger out on his friend. And the staff, literally gets pinned to a tree trunk because of the sheer force that the Kumyo threw it. And you find out very quickly, though, it wasn't because the Kumyo was mad at his friend, although I'm sure there was a part of it. There was a huge snake on that tree trunk, and the Kumyo was trying to kill it so that his friend could go unharmed. And then, his friend, the Kumyo says to his friend, was this my killing the snake? Was this a interference of human affairs as well? And so he turns back to go and help the girl who's tied up to the tree, and she's gone. And he's left wondering what happened to her. Well, what happened is that when she lost consciousness, the people in the house, roped her or released the ropes and brought her into the house. And she finally wakes up from, having lost consciousness because she hadn't had any water for 4 days and so on, or sleep for that matter, probably. She wakes up, she realizes where she's at. She struggles to get up so that she could leave the brothel. And the head, I guess, mistress of the brothel comes in and tells her, this is your lot in life. You have been sold into slavery, specifically into this brothel, and here you will be trained for the rest of your life to service men and do whatever they ask of you. And of course, she refuses, and this is such a low blow. When she refuses, the head courtesan opens up this kind of side door to the room, and you see her younger brother tied and in preparation for one of those big huge stick beatings, right? And the brother says, sister, it doesn't matter what happens to me, resist. I don't want you to live this type of life. And the sister can only handle so much as she watches her brother being pummeled, literally in pain. He's got like blood coming out of his mouth, and so she agrees. And then what ensues is this really very stoic and sad series of scenes as she endures kind of the preparation to become, I guess, in all essence, a prostitute or a courtesan. And so, they bathe her. There are some graphic scenes, not really graphic, but there are scenes of her being tattooed, I believe, on the right shoulder over a series of days. And she's finally ready. And when they find out who her first person is going to be, the brother finds out. And then he tells the servant who had been captured along with him and sold into slavery with them, Tami. And he tells her, please, please try to help my sister. Switch places with her so that my sister won't have to suffer this ordeal. And the ordeal is that the father's killer is going to be the first man to sleep with her. And he plans on comforting her for the rest of her life. And that was actually something that this friend had told the father. As the father was, kneeling, standing wrongly accused, he told him, oh, don't worry about your daughter. I plan on selling her into slavery, and I'll comfort her when you're dead, because I will comfort her every night. I will be her first, and, all of this stuff, indicating that he plans on raping her for, whatever time. And the sad thing is, at that point, the daughter had rushed in to try to see her father and to say, Dad, I believe in you and all this stuff. And of course, the dad rises when he realizes what his, fake friend had intended. And as he, rises, the villain or the fake friend kills him right in front of his daughter. And so you see, literally, the arterial blood spray kind of splattering across the daughter's face and her humble, and it's just very compelling, piece of storytelling. But anyway, so going back, she soon finds out that her first, I guess, customer is going to be the man who killed her father. And she freaks out, and, well, she doesn't freak out. You know how noblewomen are, right? They're very contained and, whatnot. But she gets one of those little hairpins, and she's about to, in essence, commit suicide. And her servant comes in, and then she tells her the plan that her brother has decided as a way to save her. And so the plan is that the servant and the sister are going to swap places, and the brother and the sister are going to try to run away, leaving the servant there, hopefully to buy them time and to take Soa is the daughter's name, Soa time to run away, as well as Tommy's then going to take Soa's place, servicing the evil guy. I know, I'm so great with words, huh? Now you guys know why I write and not speak. But anyway, so it all happens. The head courtesan actually finds out that the servant is in place of Soa. And since they can't find her, she tells the servant, don't speak a single word. We're going to pretend that you are Soa, so that we can hopefully fool the man until we can find your mistress and bring her back. And at that point, because what happens is if they get found out, then it could mean death for the servant definitely, and for all the entire brothel because the evil guy has such a nasty temper. So anyway, they get sent out to look for her and her younger brother, while the servant is then prepared to meet this evil villain, customer. And the headmistress goes into the room and she asks the man, "Can you please turn your candlelight off?" Because she's really scared and she couldn't have the heart to tell Sawa, the daughter, that her first customer was going to be the very man who killed her father. So then the evil guy says, "Sure, I don't want her to kill herself before I can have fun," right? So he extinguishes the light, at which point then the head courtesan, brings in the servant posing as Sawa. And what ensues is this kind of, the show does a pretty decent job of not being too graphic, but you just hear throughout the night the servant screaming. And yeah, so anyway, beyond that though, the siblings are running through the forest trying to get away. And of course, the brothel's guards are then let loose to try, or the servants are let loose to try to recover her, and they can't. And so when the sister realizes that she's holding her brother up, she says, "Hey, let's split up so that you have a better chance of surviving." And so the brother's like, "No, I can't. I can't leave you here to die." And she tells him, "Who says I'm going to die? I'm saying let's split up to increase our chances of survival." And so the younger brother says, "Okay," and then he takes off, and she turns around to face what she expects is going to be certain death. And as the servants with the torchlights come closer and closer to where she's at, she takes out a hairpin and is ready to kill herself. Except then all of a sudden she starts seeing what looks like fireflies in the night air, and kind of in a very mystical moment, she kind of loses consciousness, whether it's from the magic around her or just from sheer exhaustion. Because you have to remember, she hasn't really eaten that much for however many days, and just mental exhaustion, psychological exhaustion, emotional exhaustion, what have you. So anyway, she kind of collapses, but before she collapses, of course, our Kumio is there to kind of hold her and prevent her from falling unceremoniously to the ground. And she opens her eyes briefly to see him, and she says, "Please help me. Please help me." And so with that, then the Kumio takes it as an invitation for him to finally interfere in her life. Not that he needed any prompting. And he then kind of puts her away to safety, takes her to a safe place, and then he gets ready to face these servants. And it's just awesome, the scene and the sheer power that this Kumio can unleash, and the graphics are really great. But anyway, so the guards or the servants go running home because they're freaked out of their mind, and then the Kumio returns back, and the next morning Suwa wakes up and she sees this really safe place, kind of in a cavern kind of thing, and she goes out, and it's this beautiful scenery. There's like waterfalls and such, and actually, I don't know if there's a waterfall, but it looked like there should be a waterfall. Those typical folklore Korean scenes, like fairies, and never mind. Anyway, so she walks out, and then she meets the Kumio, who explains to her that he saved her, and that as long as she stays here, she'll keep him safe, he'll keep her safe, and so on. Hold on, let me consult my notes. And I think at that point, then we find out actually that. Tommy, the servant, has been found out. And so the evil villain guy stops, comes out, calls for the head courtesan, smacks her around saying, "Did you think to trick me?" And the head courtesan, hold on, I need my dog. Okay, and then the head courtesan tries to still kind of not let him know that Sawa has escaped with her brother, because she knows that once he finds out, he'll call the guards, and then it's sure death for them. So she kind of puts up this kind of arrogant air, saying that, as my reputation's at stake, I don't want to give you a girl who is unprepared in the arts of, pleasing a man or whatnot. And so she says she sent the servant instead, which doesn't really make logical sense because the servant hasn't been trained either. But anyway, so he's about to, throw her in jail or smack her around a little bit more. And the headmistress's servant, gets on her knees and says, please, it's not her fault. The girl has run away. At which point then the evil villain calls his guards to join the search. And, you see this very poignant, shot of the servant girl just kind of in the bedchamber still suffering and kind of realizing, oh my gosh, our plan has failed and I don't know what's going to happen now. But anyway, so the next morning, Sola has her talk with her little Kumio, and the younger brother gets found by bounty hunters, who then bring him in, and he is then hung. And the brother, as he is preparing himself to get hung, he tells the evil guy who has come in his full official regalia, saying, my only regret is that I don't live to exact my father's revenge on you. And then as he looks at Tami, the servant who has come to see him for one last time, he looks at her, and you know how Korean dramas do that voiceover. He shares with her this last parting of I'm sorry, and all the sweet stuff that Korean dramas typically do. And what we find out in a flashback is that they kind of liked each other from the very beginning, when they were younger. But just because he was a gentleman or a nobleman's son and she was a servant, that they just couldn't have a relationship. So anyway, very quickly after that, news of the Kumio in the forest spreads, of course, because the servants report back to the headquarters and saying we lost her because a Kumio showed up. And then the evil guy finds out too from his guards that a Kumio showed up, and that was why they weren't able to bring back Sola or find her. And so they think that Sola has now been killed by a Kumio, because Korean folklore is Kumios like human liver. And so the evil guy calls in this huge Kumio hunter, and he tells him, your goal is to find the Kumio, find him, and then find the girl's body, right? And the episode pretty much wraps up with, well, before that, I have to tell you, the head courtesan also then learns that Tami the servant, once her, I guess, the master's son had been executed, she goes back to the courtesan's house, and then she sees kind of the beam on one of the ceilings, and then she hangs herself. So pretty much the only one of those three that are still alive is Sola at the end of the episode. And then the episode wraps up with the Kumio's friend coming, saying, hey, there's kind of this, weirdness going on. And then he finds the girl at the Kumio's place, and he's like wondering, what is she doing here? And the Kumio then asks, oh, I'm saving her. And then he asks his friend, hey, help me find a way to become human. And the man's like, what, you want to be human? He's like, yes. And the friend asks him, when did you want to become a human? And the Kumio says, when I gave my heart to that girl. So, and that's how it ends. It kind of freeze frames on our Kumio's face. And then the narrator kind of spans out again to the mountainside and then narrates, and that is the end. Anyhow, long recap, right? I think Jules thought that the recap would be a lot shorter. It's not Jules, but it's really well done. For those of you who are wondering, gosh, is the drama going to live up to my expectations and hopes? The first episode sets up a really solid stage for that, or foundation. We've got a really solid storyline. We've got characters that we care about. We've got intrigue. We have, budding romance. We have characters that you want to spend the next 16 or 20 episodes with. And there's a little bit of humor, not a whole lot yet. And here's the interesting part too. Lee Seung-gi featured nowhere in this episode, and yet I found the episode compelling enough. And a part of me, not only was it compelling, but a part of me wants these characters to continue into episodes 3, 4, and 5, and 6. And I would not mind seeing the entire series with just these episodes. like I forget that Isekai is supposed to be in this series. And that's how well done I thought the first episode was. So anyway, I am going to try to stop this here. Thanks for watching, and hopefully this was something that you enjoyed listening to. I was planning on making this 10-15 minutes. I have gone way beyond that, so we'll try to keep it shorter for tomorrow. But if all else goes well, I will see you here tomorrow around the same time for episode 2. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.